Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a good day. I was watching the conservative twins on the shooting on that African American teen, and they're usually predominantly pro Caucasian. And when I say that, if you watch their videos, you'll know what I mean. They're like far right, but they did a good job on this video. They actually called him out for his racism, but that's not the reason I wanted to show you all this. I wanted to show you the comments and show you what really exists in this country, what really exists and what we live through and the ignorance that we have to live through. So look, I'm gonna show you some of these. If media is lying again, then society really needs to start holding media accountable and seriously stop letting them slide. Now, you might think they're talking about in favor of the team, but look at some of these comments. Glad he is okay. The race hustler lawyer is annoying because this wasn't a race crime according to people in America. Casey is a rough place and MSN is a fear factory. Someone came to his house and he got scared and overreacted. You can't plan somebody going to the wrong house. I'm not saying he shouldn't answer it. He did overreact. Calling racism on this without evidence is ignorant, right? Every time the facts come out, it's never anything close to what the news tries to tell you. So these people are basically saying that the team was actually trying to rob him and or the guy was justified in shooting this black teen through the door. Questions have to be asked. Was it racist or just an old guy terrified by a 16-year-old by everything that's happening and been going on in the news in the last few years? This old man feared for his life. Then what? I do feel for the kid. I hope he makes a full recovery. Right? It's sad, but all these riots and now look, after this kid got shot, this is what some of these people are saying. It's sad, but all these riots in Chicago, Baltimore, and other places has a lot of older people terrified. Not saying it's justified, but it's got a lot to do with terrified people. So nobody on their comments will admit this was racism. When I say that people are literally blind to what's going on around them, if you come and actually pay attention to what's going on in America, when you bring up stuff like slavery, when you bring up stuff like Jim Crow, segregation, murdering people, lynchings, killing people, they will deflect with all of their ability. A lot of them will. Or they'll make a famous statement, slavery was a long time ago. When in actuality, this type of stuff was going on 50, 60 years ago, 40 years ago. Or he's an 84-year-old man living alone in a bad part of town, in the suburbs, who watches the news and says he won't let something like that happen to him. See, like, this is, if you just watch the typical harmless project rampaging through burning streets on the news, you might have a bit of anxiety. They're talking about after George Floyd was murdered, the protest that was going on. So they're basically saying this dude, this older man that shot this African-American teen through his door wasn't a racist because after the kid was shot on the ground, he opened the door and shot the kid again. So look at some of these, look at even somebody that knows the kid. Look at this comment. This is a great kid, great student, straight A's. I think the 84-year-old man got really scared. So in America, when you are African American, you can have great grades, great all that stuff, and somebody's gonna get scared and blow your head off. But this is what I don't understand. They don't see how that could be scary for us. They're like, oh, it's sad. Oh, it's sad. Sad? That's terrifying. Everybody keeps saying gun laws and they won't fix the gun laws. Let me show y'all something about the Black Panthers and what happened to gun laws when the Black Panthers came out, right? What's happened to gun laws after Black Panthers? I want to go to Wikipedia, but I won't. So basically, once the Black Panthers, here we go, California's attempt to disarm the Black Panthers. Once the Black Panthers started carrying guns, then gun laws immediately changed. So, what I'm here to do is basically give you basic examples. You can look up the Mulford Act and stuff like that on your own. Once African Americans started getting guns, they basically said, nope, no more, and they cut it off. And then they started having strict gun laws. I will give you all a piece of my heart. I've had a FOID card for a long time. I basically went a while back to the hospital and basically told them, I was having panic attacks. So then they sent me to a I'm not gonna say dude's name. They sent me to somebody, and when they did, he diagnosed me with depression, right? So when I left the hospital, that's it, just mild depression. When I left the hospital, I got an email from the state of Illinois police saying if I continue to not have a gun or anything, they said if I get caught carrying my FOID card, my wallet, I will get a felony. When I say they are serious towards a certain type of people and they come after us no matter what, they do. This is not a joke. So watch this, right? 10 o'clock at night, which it wasn't. It wasn't 10 o'clock at night. 85-year-old man was probably feared for his life. Not the sharpest tool in the shed either. A lot of people aren't understanding. He's still in his house on his property. Hard to tell what he was thinking at the time. I pray for the kid's full recovery. So I want to read you this comment. I think this is simple. 99.999 of violent crime is committed by one group of people and that lives in the area where are highly active. Blame who made it a fact that you're in a much more danger from their group who have to be on guard around them. So he's talking about us Negroes, us African Americans. So let's get into statistics. As I showed you all before, if you go to Google and type in table 43 crime statistics in 2019, you won't find statistics from 2020, 2021, or 2022 because those will terrify you. Because after the pandemic hit, because I'll give you an example. They use words like the Great Depression, pandemic, and all these other terms. But people of color and minorities have been living like this in this country, so it doesn't affect us the same. We're actually becoming more equal now because of things like this. So I'm going to show you all something, right? Before you guys see this, you're going to see that it says African Americans commit, when it comes to manslaughter and murder and non-negligent manslaughter, it says 3,600 for Caucasians and 4,000 for blacks, right? Now look at any of these other races, hardly nothing, right? Nothing at all. Now I'm going to show you guys something, why they do this. What is an involuntary manslaughter and a plea deal? Involuntary manslaughter is the lowest charge in Illinois or anywhere, basically, of all homicide charges, yet still taken very seriously. Unlike a murder charge, involuntary manslaughter is the unintentional killing of a human being when the killing is accident, right? So you guys, I'm going to show you something else real quick. I'm going to show you something called a plea deal. This is what it does. When you kill somebody and you plea out and catch that. What percentage of African Americans gets plea deals? Finds racial evidence in plea deals. So recent studies on racial disparities in the criminal justice system have focused on arrests, initial charging, and sentencing. They generally find that African Americans are more likely to be arrested and charged, and they receive harsher sentences than white people. Fewer researchers have examined the plea bargaining process, even though the overwhelming majority of criminal cases in the United States are revolved around plea deals. So then that takes care of that. They find us, and then I'm going to show you guys another statistic. How many, I'm going to show you something. How many murders are solved in the U.S.? Okay. What percentage of murders are solved in America? Far from justice, why nearly half of U.S. murders go unsolved. Look, 50% homicides go unsolved because you want to know why? They cannot do certain things to a certain group of people. They give them freedoms and give them like, you have to be from America to understand this. And even when they do take us to trial, it's called a jury of our peers, but it's not. Because what's happening is it's a jury full of people that never met or seen black people, I promise you. And they're all Caucasian or a certain color. And then they bring them before us and make us look totally violent. Even if you notice, when African Americans are killed by the police, the first thing they do is go into the news and say, we're violent, we smoke weed, we're gangsters, we're drug dealers, we're home invaders. So before I get to these statistics, no, actually, since he said we commit 99% of crimes, before I get into the individual statistics, I'm going to show you how many crimes are committed by certain people. And then you'll see that all the other people combined do 30% total crime, right? So let's do this number. 4.7 million crimes divided by total crimes, 6.8 million. 6.81. They commit 69% of crime, round that up, 70% of the crime in the United States. But you don't see this in the news. You don't see of their shootings every day in the news. You don't see of their bank robberies, of their thefts, and their... Let me show y'all something. Rape. Out of the total number, they do 11,500 out of 16,000. Robbery, 25,000. But see, they'll say that blacks commit 29,000, but then you go to burglary. What is burglary? The difference between robbery. So burglary is when you actually break in. They say home invasions and stuff like that. So if African Americans and people in the ghetto are home invaders, why is it when it comes to burglary, they commit 81,000 and we only do 34,000? Out of that 81,000, those are actual people that were caught and didn't have no choice and had to be and were found guilty. Out of how many of those 34,000 African Americans were lied on? Think about these things. Larceny and theft, 400,000 out of 600,000. Look at these numbers and the percentages of how many crimes they do. Violent crime, this one I wanted to pull up. They call us violent and say we do all these crimes, right? Total number of violent crimes, 209,000. We come almost to 100,000 in comparison. They do almost all of the crime. Look at this. Forgery, 21,000. Fraud, 51,000. And this is with white supremacy and the broken system. I have seen videos of Caucasians say that all of their charges were dropped and they got probation. Child predators saying they get probation after molesting and fondling children. I'm tired of people calling us violent. We don't control the media, and this is why this happens. And I'm sick of it. It doesn't make any sense, and they treat us like the bad guys, and I'm tired of it. And the more you guys believe this, the more we're going to be caught in a broken system. If you read, look, they're saying the old man I am so happy that the young man is recovering. I hope the older man doesn't have dementia or Alzheimer's. So he has dementia or Alzheimer's, but he knew to go grab a gun. So if you have dementia, wouldn't you be lost? You'd be standing there frozen. I've worked with the elderly people. I've worked with Alzheimer's and what do they call it? Legacy units. You guys are playing a dangerous game of self-righteousness, and it's sick. When you've had so much rioting, property damage, assaults, and batteries in the suburbs, and even killing out of these riots, right? Who's being killed? You guys want to see some race riots? Right. Because I'll show you their race riots, right? So since we are allowed to be so terrified because of the rioting and all the riots that go on, I'm going to show you guys some of the riots. How many race massacres in United States? Because if you're allowed to be afraid of us because you're being lied to and saying we all we do is riot and break things up and tear things down, then I'm going to show you guys something. Since 1526, I'm going to go on a limb here, right? Regrettably, racial violence has been a distinct part of American history since the 1600s, right? Before that. So they keep saying, why do they make everything about race? Why do the Democrats bring race into everything? But if African Americans went to your schools and drank out of your water fountains, we were killed back 50, 60 years ago. So why is everything about race? While that violence has impacted almost every ethnic and racial group in the United States, Chinese were treated as slaves when building the railroads. Japanese were put in internment camps and lost their entire businesses and everything. The Jewish people was did dirty for a long time. They was burning their businesses down and tearing them off until Jewish people became white. Jewish people were Arabic and Middle Eastern. I'm tired of people playing head games. And if they were from Europe, they were treated terribly. All type of revolts. If you don't know who Rodney King is, look him up. When they beat him half to death, when they beat him, tore him off. You guys can find this information all over the internet. You might have to go to YouTube because some of the videos are better at this. I mean, you'd have names of some of the race. How about names of cities affected by race massacres? Okay, beautiful. Here we go. You guys can check this out. They have them by the cities. You got Colfax, Louisiana, Wilmington, North Carolina. You've got this page seems pretty long. They've got pictures too. I don't want to discourage some of you guys. Rosewood, there we go. There's the Rosewood, Florida man. Elaine, Arkansas, Atlanta. How many do you want to know about? The entire United States, the entire South. How many do you want to know about? They have been murdering us for years and years and years and years and years. Then they disbanded all of our groups, killed all of our public speakers. Yo, this is not a joke. This is real. Everybody's on Fox News playing with their souls. And you guys should stop. You see what's happening to Fox News right now and everybody else. I would take some self-awareness classes and some social political classes in the North, because I can assure you slaves weren't happy to be slaves. If you don't believe me, look up this woman named Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman. Look up this woman who had to free slaves. She was so hardcore, she had to kill people who wanted to run back because they would run back and snitch on us and tell where people was at and get us killed. This woman was hardcore. She didn't play no games. And just as strong as she was, I will be. So, stop playing with your souls, because some of these comments sound crazy. Fun facts. This happened a little after 10 p.m. tonight, so maybe it was 10 p.m. The old man was in bed watching TV when he heard something at his door. He went to the door and heard a large 6-foot person jiggling, trying to open his door mantle. So, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They're trying to say that we're home invaders. But if I take you back to the larceny, theft, let's see here, burglary, them, by a harsh, let's look at the percentage of it. Out of 118,000, 81,000. So let's do the math of it. 81,000 divided by 118,000. Oof, my numbers. Oof. I did that backwards. All right, sorry about that. Whoa. Okay, 118,000. I'm sorry. So 81,000 divided by 118,000. That is 70% as well. They do 70% of the burglary. Let's see here. Auto theft. My goodness, 400,000. They steal the cars. Motor theft. I'm sorry, larceny, that's theft. They steal the most money. Motor vehicle theft, stealing cars, arson. Lighting buildings on fire, violent crimes. So this is what I want to show you. The violent crimes. They do the violent crimes. The property crime. You keep saying that we're the ones that riot and tear things apart. So out of property crime, 775,000, they commit 550,000 of them, if I am correct. Yep, 517,000. Divided by 775,000. So you're more 66%. You're more likely to be robbed by a Caucasian, raped by a Caucasian. I don't know what the problem is. I don't understand why you guys are making African Americans the bad guy. I'm only doing this because this is what the statistics show. What do you want? Why you guys keep saying we're the bad guys and we're the ones that's violent? You guys aren't shown any of your crimes because they don't want to scare you all, I guess. And then you guys don't know none of your race massacres or the things that's happened in the past. So that's just the United States. If I go outside of the United States and go like, what did Belgium do to Africa? If I start to get to Europe or right, so guys go do research on King Leopold and how many Africans he killed. Or what did France, right? What did France do to Africa? Even what did France do to Africa? Like, oh my God, as the French pursued their part of the scramble for Africa in the 1800s and 1890s, they conquered large land areas. At first, ruled them as either part of Senegal colony or independent entities. Alrighty, so then you'll say to me, well, can I see a map of Europe? Since you guys love saying all white people are the same, because they're not, and there are some beautiful Caucasians out there everywhere. So, I'm going to give you guys a little simple history lesson. You have the Anglo-Saxons, Frisians, Jutes. So, I'm going to start off at the beginning. First, you have Italy down here, Romans. But before that, you have the Grecians, who are in the Grecian Isles. You got I'm not going to get into all of it. I liken them to the Philistines, because the Philistines was called to the sea people, but then you go even further, those were inhabited with people up north and stuff like that, I'm guessing. Because I'm just telling you what written history is telling me. So then you have the Grecians and the Romans. They were powerful. The Grecians conquered like 4 ways of land. Then you have the Romans. That's Italy right here. See, Italy. Then you have Italy. Then you have France. Just this picture is so out of, I pay so much for my internet and I just can't understand why the image is just so blotched. It's like nothing I can do. Oops. So, yeah, I'm just going to go back. So you go back to here. You have Italy acting a fool, right? There we go. Italy acting a fool. Rome conquering all this land. Well, Italy went up north. They went up north, right? Then you have the United Kingdom. It used to be Britain and Ireland, right? They enslaved all these people throughout this land. Then they had indentured service, the slaves and all that. You can look up pictures of white slaves back in the Roman times. Then what happened is you have France, Germany, Poland, and these type of people. You kind of have Finland and Sweden and all that too, but they weren't as aggressive and violent. Those were the Vikings up north. Germany and France, once they beat the Romans and the Spaniards back down, then they basically took over the United Kingdom and Ireland. You notice how they keep saying gingers don't have souls, gingers aren't people, redheaded people are different, Chucky the killer is a redhead doll. Like, they're doing to the Irish what they did to the people of color. They're treating them like garbage. I'm telling you, this is written history. Then you don't only have that, you have Poland, Ukraine, and Russia, and all these other lands. It's like countries in Africa. You have different people for different times, and different people have their struggles. Not all white people are the same, and a lot of them were slaves too. The more we keep fighting each other, and we're going to keep destroying each other. So when we all learn to come together and truthfully learn history and learn how to get along with each other, then maybe we can start getting along. Because this whole, what is the Industrial Revolution? So, okay. So, you guys do some research on this. What happened was, once all the plantation foolishness and all the cropping and we started getting to the industrial age, building factories and heavy machinery and all that, then you would have a whole bunch of people come to the inner cities. You'd have like a whole bunch of black people, Hispanics, Chinese, Japanese, not white Italians, not like white Italians like Romans, but like literal Spaniards and Italians, people like that were immigrants. Because what happened in America was you have the first generation of Americans that came here like on the Mayflower and stuff, and all those people that first came here, and they like all blended together and made like a white culture, American culture. Then different white people tried to come here later on, which y'all don't even realize, and different white people were treated terribly. Jews were hated. I'm talking white Jews. They hated the Jews. They called them names and was burning doing swastika stuff and all type of stuff. They hated Italians, the real ones that were like of Hispanic descent, like they hated native Hispanics. You guys talk about Texas a lot. Texas and California was owned by Hispanics and owned by Mexico. We came and took that shit. We annexed it. They call it the Alamo, Texas, whatever. I don't even know. And they came here in the first place. And something else y'all need to do research on, the Native Americans, because the Native Americans and African Americans were basically the people that was done dirty. First of all, Africans sailed here long ago on ships. This is written history now, and we have this outside of the Fantasyland South Candyland rhetoric that they put in them history books. Africans sailed here long ago and they coexisted with Native Americans. As time went on, then Europeans sailed here and destroyed and took their land. If you do not believe me, did Africans sail to South America? Africans came to the New World, earliest age of exploration. In the early 1500s, Africans trekked across many lands, North Central America, claimed by Spain. But if you go even deeper, did ancient Africans sail? See, they don't put that stuff. They just keep putting Columbus, Columbus, Columbus. But Africans came before Columbus. You have to do your research. They don't tell the truth. How Africans brought civilization to the Americas. They were here long, and they have statues. Like I'll show you something real quick. Like, this is what they'll do. They'll lie. Like, even when I told you guys, I said, how many Christians were killed and people were killed in the Crusades? And they said 1 million. Then I looked up one war and it said 4 to 8 million. Then I looked up another war, the Holocaust, the 30 Years' War was 4 to 8 million. The Holocaust was 55 to 60 million. Belgium and France was at least 30 million combined with what they did. So the million wasn't real, right? So I'm going to show you why this isn't real. African statues in Mexico. I won't even go to South America. I'll go as low as Mexico. 1200 to 400 BC, these African statues and African monuments. Now you go to South America and look how many exist. Like, ain't nobody got time for the lies no more. The history shows itself. South America. They have all type of statues in South America. Everywhere. Relics and statues and all type of stuff. Even the Aztecs. Like, I'm going to show you why this doesn't make sense. Right? What nationality were the Aztecs? Right? Aztecs, Native American people who dominated North Mexico at the same time as the Spanish conquest in the early 16th century, was here before them. So I will go to the Mayans. Mesoamerican Indians occupying nearly continuous territory in southern Mexico, Guatemala, in the early 21st century. So you guys do real research. They were African. They were of African descent. Even if you go into Latino culture, they have something where they're shaming Afro-Latinos. Look, what is an Afro-Latino? What is a Afro-Latino? There it goes. A person of mixed African and Latin American origin, a man or boy. I'm telling you all, they have taken the media, these news stations, and matter of fact, I'm going to show you something real quick and show you how the news lies. So when different countries see America, when y'all see America, y'all think, oh, there's always 2 or 3 black people in the group. We love them. They're our friends. Watch this. Racist merchandise from the 50s. They used to have Aunt Jemima dolls and little monkey dolls. Makeup, look, blackface, you could sell blackface. It was a thing. I'm telling you, bro, hanging in a barrel. See, I'm telling you. They hated black people. Waiting room, whites only. If we got caught in their stuff, we got killed. Racist monkey merchandise from the 50s. I can't make this stuff up, man. All this stuff. You guys, they basically treated us. Look at this. The Aunt Jemima foolishness. Why they want her off of that. They don't show you this stuff, though, right? They don't show you all this. Why they want her off that syrup bottle. They just say, the left is racist radicals and Black Lives Matter. Calling us monkeys and acting a nut. I'm telling you, bro. So, y'all keep thinking we lying if you want to. Don't take it from the media. Take it from an African American who lives here. It's different now in 2023, but I promise you, they still acting a fool. If you don't believe me, go watch some American news for a while and notice how many African American does this, African American does that. Chicago's crime is so bad. New York's crime is so bad. Because New York and Chicago have been part of I showed you, the Industrial Revolution. And so then a bunch of immigrants and people of color live in these areas. So they torment us on the news and call us bad and call us names. So I don't need you to call me a liar. You can go live in your fantasy land if you want, but one day you're going to be waking up at some point in time and at some generation. I told you all before, the Pharaoh did the same thing. Pharaoh, let us deal harshly with them, lest they overcome us. Exodus 1:10. So then I'll go to Bible.com so I can actually read it for you. This is what Americans have been doing to people of color since the time America has started. Exodus 1:10. Look, he said, the people of the new king who Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, oh, I'm sorry, some people won't listen to me unless I read the Kingeth James version, the Anglo-Saxon version, because the William Tyndale version, the man who got murdered trying to rewrite the Bible righteously, he was killed and then they stole his version. Go look up William Tyndale. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, which means they didn't know Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom, Ramses, and the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. So, trying to tell y'all, the more y'all act the fool and do this to us, did African Americans build America? The more you afflict us, work. So you don't believe me? Go do some research on the real history of America. We built almost everything. Almost everything. Without slavery, would the U.S. be a leading power? And then what's even funnier, they gave reparations to the slave owners that owned us, but didn't give blacks reparations. If you don't believe me, look at this. Were slave owners compensated? On April 16th, 1862, President Lincoln signed the District of Columbia compensated the Emancipation Act. This law prohibited slavery in the district, forcing 900 odd slave owners to free their slaves, giving them about $300 each, the equivalent of $8,000 in 2021. Interesting. So, it is what it is. So, have a good life. And if you all don't change, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you.